Today I want to talk about good spend and bad spend. Now, any business, whether you're a startup, whether you're growing or whether you're a mature business, you have expenses. It's part of reality and it's part of doing business. And we sometimes get confused with what's good spend and bad spend. And we are remarkably good at saving in the wrong places and spending in the wrong places. And I think that is something which we need to have very, very clarity in our mind and in our organization of where we need to spend, which is necessary, what is important, what is critically, and what is a good spend, and for what reasons is it a good spend, and how can we justify and connect that good spend with growth or with mitigating risk, and have a clear understanding of expenditure. Because we sometimes just look at a headline to say, well, we are minus X and it's unacceptable. But in that minus X number, there are component expenditure which is good expenditure. It might be marketing, it might be risk mitigation, it might be pre-order of supplies which we got at a good price, which was discounted. There might be many reasons why they are part of the minus numbers which is actually good for a business, short term, medium term or long term, or which supports growth. And then of course we have the bad expenditure, which you should avoid, the things which is unnecessary, which doesn't support growth, the things which we don't need. It might be when we start to have a fancy office where we don't need a fancy office. If you're in professional services, one could say, well, it's important for us to have a fancy office because we want to attract fancy clients. Or we have a medium fancy office when we start, and when we get traction, we get the super fancy office. So every expense can either be good or bad. And it's important to be aware of this distinction and to analyze it from that perspective, rather than just a one-fits-all approach to say that, well, we should cut costs, we should cut expenses, and it gets misunderstood and misutilized and implemented in the business, because it's impossible that reference could be made to all expenses are bad, because it's definitely not the case. And we should not cry about the good expenses. We might set ourselves up that we can carry those good expenses. It might be that we get a loan or that we get capital or a partner. But the good expenses are there. It's necessary for the business. We should be happy about it. We should not complain about it. And we should make sure that financially that we'll be able to support and carry those good expenses till we make enough revenue. And when we are in a situation that we are generating enough revenue, still be aware of good expenses, bad expenses, because at some stage a bad expense might become a good expense, or something which we believe is a good expense might become a bad expense. I know many expenses are not always measurable, and what does it really contribute? The same goes for good expenses. And that's also something which we should look at to see that we can, as far as possible, easy and as cheap as possible, be able to measure everything in our business on the expenses side to understand what does it contribute to growth, to increase in revenue.